In striking distance tonight of hitting 10,000. But what will happen then? Nuclear secrets leaked to China, an American scientist fired, and now the question, is there a spy still out there? In depth tonight, Forever Young. A new poll may surprise you. Retirement is much better than it used to be. And the family, a silent epidemic. It's sometimes deadly. It's something easy for kids and grandkids to get, but it may be hard to stop.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Substituting tonight, Brian Williams.
Good evening. Millions of Americans who have a horse in the race called Wall Street were glued to financial news on television today, and when they tuned to CNBC at one point, this is what they saw. With the suspense of the dropping of the ball in New York on New Year's Eve, the countdown to a Dow Industrial average of 10,000 is now underway, and 10,000 is just over about 100 points away. It came close today. It even smashed through a few records on its way. The official close up just over 124 to 9897.44. NASDAQ up just over 6 at 2412 in the end. The magic 10,000 mark is close, but it'll have to wait. And much like the coming Y2K year 2000 mark, people now are wondering what is going to happen. What will it feel like when it does crack 10,000? CNBC's Ron Insana watched it move all day long from their headquarters. He's standing by for us tonight. Ron?
Brian, it was a very interesting day. A couple of select groups helped the Dow to flirt with that 10,000 level, and it was an interesting flirtation that carried on throughout the day. The Dow smashed through 9,800 as if it didn't exist early in the morning. About noontime, it got to 9,900, and then just after noon, there was that move to 99.35. That was only 65 points away from the magic 10,000 level. Oil stocks and bank stocks and technology stocks were very strong. And among the Dow movers, some of the biggest names on Wall Street were beneficiaries of the rally. Chevron, in a resurgent oil group, up more than $1. Exxon, also very strong. American Express put on a show, picking up 5 7/8. Coca-Cola rebounded rather nicely, and GE, the parent of this network, moved to within a fraction of an all-time high. Favorable interest rate environment and a decent economy, as we saw with retail sales this morning, the big reason for the rally today, Brian.
Ron Insana from CNBC Studios for us tonight. Thanks. Now to what will happen when 10,000 happens, and what to watch for, what to expect. With that, NBC News Chief Financial Correspondent Mike Jensen.
Brokerage offices all over America flooded with calls today.
51 1/4.
With the Dow closing just 102 points from 10,000, investors today were hungry to get in on the action, but also worried that this raging bull market, which has doubled since November of 1995, could be a bubble getting ready to burst. Caroline Kaslas has $3,200 in 2 mutual funds.
I am a little nervous about it. I think that that it's completely overinflated.
Why the incredible surge in the Dow? First, trillions of dollars flooding into the stock market from new investors. 70 million Americans now own stocks directly or through mutual funds or retirement funds. Another reason for the surge? American companies whose stock is bought and sold on the exchanges enjoying an 8-year run of prosperity. Their stock price is up an average of 25% per year for the last 4 years. Also behind the surge, the computer revolution of the 90s, making all kinds of companies more efficient and more profitable, and creating an entire new industry full of companies that sell their stock to the public. So what happens after the Dow does break 10,000? Professor Richard Silla looks for slower growth, but not a collapse.
My expectation would be that the stock market would probably rise in the range of 6 to 7% a year for the next 10 years.
Most experts say the Dow needs 3 things to keep growing: high corporate profits, low inflation, and economic recovery around the world. Experts say if all those things happen, the Dow could hit 11,000 by the end of next year. Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
There have been developments in another major story to tell you about tonight. Allegations that China stole nuclear secrets right out from under the U.S. with the help of Americans working in what are supposed to be secure weapons laboratories. President Clinton, wrapping up his trip in Central America, defended his administration's handling of this spy situation so far.
We have investigated it. We continue to investigate it. We have dramatically increased our counterintelligence. I believe we have taken all appropriate steps. I do not believe that that evidence justifies an isolated, no-contact relationship with China.
Now, at the same time in Los Alamos, New Mexico, the fired scientist who's at the center of all of this was defended today by his former co-workers there. They're raising doubts now about whether the accusations about spying are overblown somehow and whether or not the U.S. government suspects the wrong man here. Here with that, NBC's Ann Thompson.
Today, former co-workers at Los Alamos defend Wen-Ho Lee, the Chinese-American scientist fired for security violations, suspected of passing secrets to the Chinese.
If he weren't Chinese and hadn't traveled to China, he wouldn't be an obvious suspect at all.
Chris Michel's worked with Lee in the early 80s and does not believe the computer specialist in nuclear weapons is a spy. Neither does Ken Van Riper, Lee's colleague until 3 years ago.
They're serious allegations. If they can prove them, let's see them prove them.
On Barcelona Avenue, the quiet street where Lee lives, disbelief that their longtime neighbor, father of two, could be suspected of espionage. The doubts expressed here are also being voiced in Washington. Senior law enforcement and intelligence officials tell NBC News neither the CIA nor the FBI is at all sure Lee is the source of the leaks, if there are any leaks at all, and they are a long way from bringing charges. But today, the director of Los Alamos defended the decision to fire Lee.
It wasn't just one incident of someone forgetting to put a document into a safe, for example, overnight, or forgetting to close a safe and lock it properly. It was a pattern of events that led us to believe we had a very serious security violation.
A violation Republicans seized on, raising questions about the administration's response to security concerns at Los Alamos.
We in the Intelligence Committee have pushed the administration, have pushed and prodded for the last 2 or 3 years to do something about national security at the labs, and they're just now beginning to do it.
With all the doubt raised here in Los Alamos and in Washington about Lee's possible role in slipping nuclear secrets to the Chinese, next week the Senate Intelligence Committee will begin hearings. But like much of this case shrouded in national security, the hearings will be behind closed doors. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Los Alamos.
When we come back here tonight, call it the new retirement. NBC News In Depth. Older Americans really redefining the golden years.
I feel good. I feel active. I feel like I want to be involved in what's going on.
Tonight, what the new numbers show for many older Americans, why there really is gold to be found there, and the baby boom among the Los Angeles zoo creatures. Good news until we tell you why it wasn't supposed to happen.
If you're one of the 36 million people who wear dentures, this is big. Polident Overnight, now with PolyShield, the overnight clean that feels fresh all day. Overnight, Polident cleans tough stains, then forms an invisible barrier on dentures to keep you feeling fresh and clean all day. Imagine 36 million people with a great new feeling of confidence. New Polident Overnight with PolyShield, the overnight clean that feels fresh all day.
Great meal. Uh-oh, gas pressure. What now? What else? Gas X, with the most powerful medicine for fast relief. Nothing works faster.
Hey, want to go for ice cream?
Gas X, the power to fight gas fast.
If this is you, communications has finally caught up with the way you live. Introducing AT&T Personal Network. All the ways you want to communicate in one network with the same low rate of 10 cents a minute on your calls, even wireless. One bill, one number to call for more personalized service. Just call 1-800-4ATT now or visit our website. AT&T Personal Network. It could change forever the way you communicate. Call 1-800-4ATT now.
With over 800 tax law changes, doing your own taxes can be a nightmare.
Hey.
Hi, Bill from H&R Block.
What are you doing in my dream?
Well, it's tax time. Trying to save you some anxiety.
Thanks.
H&R Block. We know. Do you?
Forecast mostly sunny skies.
Let's break away, relax your mind, where twisted roads help you unwind. You're in control now, you're on a roll now, you're making whoopee.
Nothing puts you in complete control quite like the Agile DeVille.
You're really moving. It feels so soothing. You're making whoopee.
DeVille, for the time of your life.
The family and Alzheimer's. Now, new breakthroughs.
The hope is that treatments can maintain people.
Important information. Don't miss NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
Dateline Sunday. This woman lost her family in the horror of Auschwitz, but miraculously she survived. Now she comes face to face with one of the Nazis who took her sister's life. Dateline Sunday.
NBC News in depth tonight. If you're retired or even planning on it or even know someone who is, see if what you're about to hear matches what you think about the supposed golden years. A new poll by NBC News and the Wall Street Journal points to a lot of gold. It finds more Americans retiring younger, richer, and with a more positive outlook about the future. We begin tonight's in-depth reporting with NBC's Robert Hager.
Doug Jeppe, age 67, with his wife active in retirement. They play tennis. He takes a literature course. Like the vast majority of retirees today, Social Security is important, but only one part of the Jeppe's income.
We have a pension, we have a 401k, and we have Social Security. So between the three of them, we're able to have a very nice, reasonably interesting life.
Merle Tulene, who's 69, could also live on pension and savings if she and her husband retired, but both choose to keep on working.
Partly why I work is because I feel good. I feel active. I feel like I want to be involved in what's going on.
Today, the old picture of retirees living month to month on the Social Security check with a dismal future is no longer. Instead, there's new evidence of a little-noticed transformation. Today, those of retirement age have more income, better health, and are much more active.
Our NBC News Wall Street Journal poll finds a whopping 79% of retirees satisfied with their income. 2 out of 3 say they're better off than their parents and in better health as well. Only 31% say Social Security makes up all or most of their income. Today, most rely more on a combination of pensions, private savings, and the newer IRA or 401k retirement accounts.
The image of retirement a generation ago was a much more passive view. I mean, we have an image of a rocking chair, smiling as the parade goes by. Well, the retirees of today are leading the parade.
And retiring earlier, average age now 62, 41% with income of more than $30,000 a year. At that, most are still fiercely protective of Social Security. Merle Tulene still on the job.
When the time comes to retire, that's in place. That makes a difference, too.
And Doug Jeppe, already retired.
The government should keep its contract with us.
A new definition of the golden years. More affluent, more active. Retirement, not what it used to be. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
Politicians usually learn 2 big lessons right away: how to raise money and how not to commit political suicide by angering older Americans who vote. Continuing tonight's in-depth reporting, here's NBC's Lisa Myers.
Anyone who doubts the growing political clout of the elderly should look to Orange County, California. Frustrated with local politicians, some 19,000 residents of Leisure World rebelled. The retirement community voted to make itself California's newest city. Average age, 77. That kind of muscle flexing strikes fear in politicians who believe seniors could decide the 2000 elections.
In terms of age groups, it's far and away the most important vote because it's big and they turn out at a higher rate.
Lately, the gray vote has been fickle. In 1996, seniors turned out decisively for President Clinton. But last year, when many were offended by the president's conduct, seniors voted Republican.
They're very focused on Social Security, on Medicare, and to some degree on the whole issue of moral decline.
So far this year, Democrats have the advantage. The NBC poll shows seniors overwhelmingly believe Democrats will do better handling Social Security and Medicare. Republicans score better on promoting strong moral values. Now Republicans are trying to improve their image. After the president proposed that most of the budget surplus be set aside for Social Security, Republicans promised they would do even more.
We are committed to locking away every penny of the Social Security Trust Fund surpluses for our nation's elderly.
But the nation's largest senior group says Republicans still are pushing tax cuts over Medicare. As for Social Security, the NBC poll finds most seniors opposed to almost every proposal to fix the system long term.
And my feeling is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
What happened at Leisure World is a reminder of the consequences of offending this powerful voting bloc. That's a big reason tough choices for fixing Medicare and Social Security are likely to be put off until after the next election. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
There is, however, at least one politician that we know of anyway who appears willing to take a risk and actually tinker with Social Security. Tonight, Arizona Republican Congressman Jim Colby talks about the challenge of changing Social Security. Here he is in his own words.
If it was easy to do, Congress would have done it a long time ago. It isn't easy, and that's why we haven't done it. Over the years, politicians have learned, they're no different than Pavlov's dog. They learn not to ever talk about this issue and just to repeat the mantra that I will preserve Social Security. I will do nothing to touch Social Security. That isn't going to work any longer, because we have to touch Social Security if we are going to be able to save it. The fact is, to make Social Security work for the future, for today and for the future, you have to make some structural changes to the system. That means you either have to make some reductions in benefits in the future, or you have to raise some taxes. You have to make some changes in the way Social Security works. It's very difficult. And I'm not overly optimistic about this happening, but I think it is possible. As the poll suggests, the American people now regard this as the #1 priority. If they are telling their congressman, fix this, solve it, then that will be the message to Congress to do so.
Congressman Colby of Arizona. And up next as we continue, kids trying a dangerous way to get high, a hidden epidemic out there not always talked about at the dinner table.
Around here, we like a salad with our dinner.
See, this is a monster piece of lettuce.
And the people who make craft dressings have always seemed to know what we like. You know, a lot of us grew up on the creamy taste of Kraft Ranch.
More.
And who knows, maybe they even know how good it feels when we see our kids dive into a salad. I guess they just know what we like. Around here, the dressing is Kraft.
The '99 Mitsubishi Eclipse GS Sports Package. Now available with 0.5% APR financing.
Fortunately for Millie, Dr. Espinoza was in the office early, while someone else was drafting the marketing plan to sell his home. At 11, he was making his rounds, instead of visiting his title company. At 1 p.m., he was giving Pam good news, instead of checking for disclosure documents. And by the time Dr. Espinoza wrote the day's last prescription, someone else was at his home meeting a prospective buyer. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Sorry I'm late. I was at my doctor and... Oh, did you ask her about the things you've been reading about menopause? I did. She said...
It's important to consider menopause and the consequences of its associated estrogen loss.
You mean like hot flashes? Hot flashes and night sweats, but other things too, like vaginal dryness. It can interfere with intimacy.
And osteoporosis. I know that menopause increases our risk of fractures.
Dr. Hartman also said...
Studies show that menopause contributes to heart disease in women. Additional ongoing studies are investigating the connection between menopause and Alzheimer's disease, colon cancer, blindness, and tooth loss.
I had no idea. My doctor and I decided to stick with the program we've agreed on for years. I should speak to my doctor.
When considering menopause, consider the entire body of evidence. Speak to your doctor about what you can do to help protect your health during and after menopause.
Tomorrow, a town where teenagers who break the rules are forced to listen to Barney music. Is it cruel or just unusual punishment? Find out tomorrow and Today.
There is late word out of Washington tonight. The man who became very well known for saying very little as Ken Starr's spokesman is out of a job. Charles Bockley resigned today, apparently over something he might have said to the New York Times. At issue, a January Times story that said Starr was considering indicting the President of the United States. Starr has turned the matter over to the Justice Department. Bockley's lawyer says his client is cooperating and will in the end be vindicated. Now from Washington, far across the country, now to our look at the family and sometimes a hidden but major problem in this country when teenagers abuse what should be an ordinary household substance. The results are often disastrous. NBC's Fred Francis has the story of one tragedy that got the attention of the entire nation.
When 5 girls from the same high school died in a single car crash on a clear day in January, the mystery was as overwhelming as the grief. How did it happen?
She was my best friend as well as the love of my life.
But then a stunning revelation. An empty can of spray cleaner was found in the car. And tests showed that 4 of the girls, including the driver, likely inhaled the product's fumes before crashing into a tree.
The blood level that was found in the girls had to represent abusive inhalation of this gas.
It's called huffing, breathing fumes of ordinary household products to get high. It is so common, and so few talk about it, that drug experts call it the silent epidemic. Recent studies show 1 out of every 5 kids will have tried huffing before finishing high school. Before he quit, Stephen Bowles huffed spray paint in Tennessee half a dozen times a day.
It's just a cheap high, very cheap high, at 98 cents.
And access is as close as the kitchen cabinet. Almost anything with a chemical base can be huffed. And in addition to brain, liver, and lung damage, huffing can kill. In California, 12-year-old Wade Heist died after huffing air freshener.
Using an inhaler is something akin to playing Russian roulette. Any time that you use an inhalant, it can kill you. The first time, the 3rd time, the 5th time, the 12th time.
Experts say parents will talk to their kids about marijuana or alcohol, but not huffing. In one survey, 95% of all parents said their children never used inhalants. In fact, the parents of the 5 girls killed here in Media refused to accept the medical examiner's findings, saying, quote, "The evidence is inconclusive." But the school district is worried. It asked emergency room Dr. Robert Singh to educate parents and teachers about huffing. Ending the denial, he says, is the first step.
I have a police officer who's a patient who says, oh, we see it all the time. The kids sitting there squirting the stuff up their noses as they're driving down the street.
Susan Wilson Tucker's daughter, Jennifer, did not huff, but the driver who killed her did. Police say he was high on the same kind of spray cleaner found in the blood of the Pennsylvania girls. She says parents must take action.
I say to them that my daughter didn't use inhalants either, but someone else did and it killed her. So that makes it everyone's problems.
A problem that can no longer be ignored. Fred Francis, NBC News, Media, Pennsylvania.
In San Francisco today, a very private funeral for an American legend, a private man, the great Joe DiMaggio. Only about 60 relatives and close friends attended the service, just as DiMaggio had requested before his death on Monday. But crowds couldn't help but turn out in tribute as the hearse carrying the Yankee Clipper drove slowly through the neighborhood where he grew up, saying goodbye to Joe D. Up next, it wasn't supposed to happen this way. The story out of Los Angeles, a mysterious baby boom has zookeepers asking a lot of questions.
Overactive bladder.
Those strong, sudden urges.
Going to the bathroom so often.
Wedding accidents.
Discover prescription Detrol. Detrol is proven effective to treat overactive bladder. Detrol reduced bathroom visits by 2.2 times in 24 hours versus 1.1 times with a sugar pill.
Stay a little longer? Love to.
1.2 fewer wedding accidents occurred with Detrol versus 0.8 fewer with a sugar pill. Similar decreases over 24 hours. Do not take Detrol if you have certain types of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems. The most common side effect is dry mouth at 39.5% for Detrol versus 15.9% for sugar pill. Common but less frequent ones may include dry eyes, headache, constipation, and indigestion.
Head back? Not right now.
For more product information, call us or ask your doctor about prescription Detrol. Proven effective to treat overactive bladder.
Glad I asked my doctor about Detrol.
It's my biggest story ever.
Let's run with it. Nobody in the world sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
Exactly.
What tipped you off?
Let's just say there was something in the air.
You may be surprised who's drinking Ensure. Healthy people. Why? Because to help you stay healthy, you have to eat right. For the times you can't eat nutritious foods like these, drink Ensure. With the essential vitamins and minerals you find in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish. Ensure is a source of complete balanced nutrition to help you stay active and energetic. Drink Ensure. And drink to your health.
Enterprise rent a car for my trip?
Looks expensive. It's not expensive, Mom.
They pick us up? Sounds expensive.
Pickup's free, Mom.
Well, if it's not expensive, why didn't I get a convertible?
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Well, there was one year where I almost lost the entire backyard to crabgrass, and I vowed that would never happen again. The following year, I did use Turf Builder plus Halts. It not only got rid of the crabgrass, but it also greened up the lawn and thickened it. I used the cheaper brands, but I didn't have the color that I wanted, and I did have the weeds. Look how thick it is. Look at the color of it. There are no weeds. I take the credit instead of Scott's. I call it Luby Lawn. I'm very proud of the results that I get from Scott's. And there will be no crabgrass.
I'm Paul Majors. Coming up tonight at 6 on KARE 11 News, we'll have a team report on the decision to bench 4 Gopher players following allegations of a schoolwork scandal. We'll also tell you what effect it had on today's game. And we'll look into just how easy it is for students to cheat at the U of M. We'll see you at 6 for KARE 11 News.
New animal baby arrivals at zoos across America are usually just good news, unless, of course, they amount to a huge mystery. That is the case tonight with the chimps in Los Angeles, the babies that weren't supposed to happen. Here is NBC's Kelly O'Donnell.
Another whodunit in Los Angeles. Another case where detectives wait for DNA results. A mystery of sex and intrigue, playing out not on the mean streets or Hollywood backlots, but here at the zoo. It wasn't supposed to turn out this way. An unexpected baby boom at the chimp house. All the more mysterious because the zoo thought it couldn't happen. After all, the zoo operated on most of the males, gave them vasectomies. But then Toshi was born 6 weeks ago.
As soon as I got over the shock and excitement about the new baby, I thought, oh, you know, we have a lot of females in that group, and if one's pregnant, there's probably more that are pregnant.
In fact, 2 more. Gracie is due later this month, Regina this summer. The prime suspects? Toto. He's the oldest at 45, but has never shown interest in this sort of thing. The youngsters, just 4 and 2, are thought to be too young. So suspicions focus on Judio, Gerard, and Sean, even though they all had vasectomies. The doctor who performed 2 of the vasectomies is not a veterinarian, but a urologist who usually only treats people. He wants to remain anonymous. He doesn't want his human patients to know he operated on chimps. And now he really doesn't want them to know that surgery might not have worked. In fact, birth control at the zoo is hardly fail-safe. Pandora was on Norplant, the same device implanted in women, but it didn't work.
We had Ripley, as in Ripley's Believe It or Not, because he's our Norplant baby.
And now, after 3 more pregnancies,
we're back on the pill. We put the girls on birth control pills, the same pill that any human female would use.
They grind the pill into powder and mix it into yogurt. The chimps think it's a treat. As for whodunit, the ladies can't kiss and tell, so zoo detectives will rely on DNA tests to get to the bottom of this baby boom. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And that is Nightly News for this Thursday evening. I hope to see you later this evening for the news on MSNBC on cable. That's 9 Eastern Time, again at 10 on CNBC. I'm Brian Williams reporting tonight from New York. Good night.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.